Greetings, I'm Brian Ratty, and welcome to my virtual PowerPoint presentation on my new book, Call of the Columbia. Thank you for dialing me in, and thank you Seaside Library for asking me to host this event. I'm honored to be here. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. I've named my presentation, The Long Painful Journey. Why? The coronavirus, of course. What a year we're having. 2020 is the year that never was, or as I like to say, our world upside down. As a nation, we have sailed these troubled waters many times before. After all, America always stands the tallest when we stand together. 2020 started out with such great promise. It's the 75th year since the end of World War II. The entire world should be celebrating this historical event. A few years ago, I wrote a newspaper article for the Daily Astorian titled Fortress Astoria. The story is my boyhood reflections of living on the North Coast during World War II. So this year, I wanted to pay tribute to the World War II generation by turning my words into a video that would celebrate how Astoria, Oregon helped win World War II. Fortress Astoria, the video, was my project of choice for 2020. After months of research and work, I had secured 10 premiere showings of my new video, Fortress Astoria, to celebrate the end of World War II. The video would pay tribute to America's greatest generation. And it celebrates the people of the North Coast that commissioned over 500 new ships into the United States Navy. And I paid tribute to my grandfather, Harry Ratty, who worked at the Tongue Point Naval Air Station, and my father, Dudley, who worked at the Astoria Naval Air Station, both as civilian contractors. While developing the video, I learned that during World War II, there was a shipbuilder on Young's Bay that made Navy ships out of wood. Why? That's in the video. And about the many Navy blimps that patrolled the shores of the North Coast during the war. And the story of Henry J. Kaiser, a fascinating industrialist who owned shipyards upriver in Portland and Vancouver, Washington. He was a genius of a man. Early in the war, he built 50 small aircraft carriers, or CVEs, for the government. His ships required tens of thousands of sailors and thousands more of pilots and aircraft. Then all my work stopped because of the coronavirus. Soon my 10 premiere showings of my video Fortress Astoria melted away like spring snow. With my 20-minute video completed, I now had no place to show it, so I uploaded it to YouTube. As of now, with only word-of-mouth marketing, we've had over 1,000 views of the video. If you would like to see the program, just Google up Video Fortress Astoria. Here's a short sample of the program, and if you like my video, give me a thumbs up. In the dark early days of World War II, my family moved to the North Coast. I was just a young'un new to long pants at the time and had many heroes. They included Roy Rogers and Gene Autry, of course. But my biggest heroes were the brave and bold Navy pilots that I watched working with my father at the Astoria Naval Air Station. That's what I wanted to be, a pilot, a Navy pilot. Astoria, Oregon played a pivotal role in helping America win the war. This bustling little community on the shores of the Columbia River helped contribute a fleet of over 500 ships and thousands of planes, pilots, and sailors to the war effort. Shortly before America entered the war in 1940, a man by the name of Henry J. Kaiser secured a contract to build 31 cargo ships for the British government. The Brits were in a bad way, standing alone as they fought the Nazis in Europe. They needed help, and the American government was beginning to provide them with the much-needed war materials. Kaiser was a genius of a man, with a worldwide reputation as a can-do industrialist. He had recently completed the Hoover Dam, finishing the project in half the time and under budget. If you needed something big done, Kaiser was your man. With the British contract in hand, Kaiser searched the communities of the West Coast for the best locations to build the shipyards. The sites had to be on a navigable waterway, with a large local workforce and a good transportation system. In addition, the locations had to have access to cheap energy, as his shipyards would run 24 hours a day. His first selection was 90 miles upstream from Astoria, next to Portland, Oregon. This thriving community was called Vanport, and it offered low-price hydropower and had a large population nearby with excellent rail connections. As the shipyards were being built, Kaiser and his nautical engineers designed the first Liberty ship. Their concept was simple: make the ships durable, inexpensive, and easy to build. During the course of World War II, 18 American shipyards would build 2,710 Liberty ships using the Kaiser design. On May 19, 1941, Kaiser's Oregon Shipbuilding Corporation launched their very first Liberty ship, the Star of Oregon. However, of the first 5 ships built that year, all were sunk in action within months of their commissioning. England was losing the war, but she still clung to hope. So much for my rantings about the coronavirus. The only good thing this virus gave me was enough time and determination to finish my new book Call of the Columbia, River of Redemption. Redemption, the underlying subplot of the book. Atoning for a fault or a mistake, salvation. A subject all too familiar with most of us. A look back. I graduated from Wilson High School in Portland, Oregon in 1960, and then went off to the Air Force, where I was trained as a photo reconnaissance photographer. After returning to civilian life, I worked as a milkman. From milkman to another photo school, film production to video production. I'm a visual kind of guy, and that helps me with my writing skills. I love history, especially local history, but I'm not an expert. I love raw, strong, bold, and believable characters. And I love a good story, because at my best, I'm only a storyteller. My favorite author is Jack London. He has style and grace with his character development and brilliant word descriptions. What I write: historical fiction with believable storylines set against historical times and events. I write the kind of books I like to read. Why I write: I don't write for profit. I write for pleasure, my pleasure. I shy away from salacious sex or gratuitous violence in favor of storylines with colorful characters and backdrops of historical events. How I write: I write in the mornings, edit in the afternoons, and fuss all night about what I wrote that day. At times, writing can be all-consuming and a little frightening. Books versus videos. Which is the most challenging to write? Books have no music, no sound effects, or cinematic images. Books depend on words, descriptive words that transport the reader to another time and another place, and hopefully captures their imagination. Finding new book projects is like picking apples on a tree. Story ideas come in bunches, like these two wonderful books that planted the seeds to the Call of the Columbia. Then it's research, research, and more research. After the development of a strong storyline, I refine my characters using PR photos of real-life thespians. These images help me redefine my character's traits. Here's my main characters for Call of the Columbia. Captain Gus Savage, U.S. Cavalry, notorious Indian fighter. The Cheyenne Indians fear him and call him Night Eye. Every main character needs a sidekick or a counterpart. Lightfoot is the perfect choice. He's a Comanchero scout for the cavalry and speaks the Cheyenne tongue. Lucy Fisher, a young white captive girl, is rescued from a Cheyenne village and becomes the heroine of the story. Now there are three unlikely compadres searching for a better life. This unlikely trio bands together in search of redemption and with loyalty to each other. This is a cautionary tale as they ultimately journey to the shores of the Columbia River. As these compadres travel cross-country, they are the glue that holds the storyline together. Each is searching in their own way for an understanding of the changing times. The Oregon Trail, the first major migration of pioneers, took place in 1843 when a single large wagon train of 120 wagons and 500 people made the trip. The trail was popular until the Transcontinental Railroad connected the east to the west in 1869. It took 5 or 6 months for a wagon train to make such an arduous and dangerous journey. Ambushed by the Indians, many pioneers died a brutal death, and often their children were taken captive to live with the tribes. With the era of the cowboy reaching its zenith and the age of industrialization marching on, America found its way into her turbulent Gilded Age. This was a time of lost prospects and renewal for hopes of a brighter future. But pilgrims beware, this river of redemption giveth, and the river taketh away. The wet footprints in the sand are yours. Don't let them wash away. With the Union Pacific Railroad building west across the heartland, and the Central Pacific Railroad building east from Sacramento, the two iron highways joined together on May 10, 1869. The Transcontinental Railroad ushered in the beginning of America's Industrial Revolution. The official Golden Spike photo of the new Pacific Railroad in 1869. Notice there is only white workers in the photograph. No images of the Chinese, Irish, Negroes, Indians, and Civil War veterans that helped build the road. Many said the Transcontinental Railroad was just about the biggest engineering project in the history of mankind. While the Indians viewed the Iron Highway as an act of war. Eastern newspapers called the Transcontinental Railroad the eighth wonder of the world. There are many other historical events included in the book, backdrops of fascinating subjects like the Oregon Trail and how Dr. John McLaughlin became known as the father of Oregon. Who were the original architects of the Iron Highway and why was it built? steamboats and paddle wheelers, the new modern way of travel. The gold and coal fields of Oregon. The Columbia River, Captain Robert Gray's gift to the people of Oregon. Astoria, Oregon, the new New Orleans to the Pacific. Frontier justice, swift, final, and frightening. But pilgrims beware, the river giveth, and the river taketh away. In the 1930s, Woody Guthrie wrote some beautiful words about the Columbia River, so I'll close with a little poem of my own that only reminds me that I'm not Woody Guthrie. Call of the Columbia. Sweep on forever to be lost in the stormy sea. I can still hear this roaring river calling out to me. Roll on, mighty river, roll on through the day. Neither winds nor rain will sway my way. Above the swirling winds, I can hear your siren song, welcoming me where I now belong. Roll on, mighty river, roll on. With all your awesome power, I'll build my home where the timbers still tower. Call of the Columbia is the third book in my award-winning Pathfinders trilogy. These books are the history and dreams of our forefathers and their trail of discovery, disappointment, and danger in a time when work was hard and life was cheap. My Dutch Clark trilogy are stories of forgiveness, loneliness, war, love, birth, and death. Heartfelt tales of survival and self-reliance that help shape the life and times of a young man named Dutch Clark. Call of the Columbia, First National Review. Much transpires within the pages of this gripping tale. It is a treasure chest of beautiful descriptive lines. Call of the Columbia is a captivating piece of historical fiction, skillfully written and an impressive read. Reader's favorite, 5 stars. My books are available at fine bookstores, museums, libraries, and online. Readers wanted. Any questions? Email me at bdratty@dutchclark.com. Thank you, Seaside Public Library, for supporting local authors like myself. Keep an eye out for my upcoming virtual authors events. Seeing you online is better than not seeing you at all. Together, we stand tall. For more information, DutchClark.com. Readers wanted.